everyone, welcome to SoundCheck in association with Noizze.co.uk. I am your host Kris. I'm sitting here with the cynical one, Sam Lewis, of course, and Martin Turner, and on this one, Mr. Jack Holloway, the owner of Noizze. Now, Jack is actually my boss, so I'm going to be the nicest to him out of everyone, even if he chooses shitty things. I'm still going to be happy with his selections.
I'm not.
This is a special episode of SoundCheck. This is episode 75. We always do a special every 25 episodes, and this one is our favourite non-rock or metal albums, which is going to be really cool for me, because I get to talk about music that I wouldn't really usually get to talk about. Sam, it's usually me and you at the moment, because obviously Martin's away.
It's nice to have some extra people here, isn't it?
It's nice to have some extra people. Is it nice for you as well, that we're getting to like speak at something other than... Because it is for me.
Oh, and 50% say yes, 50% say no. Not at all. This was actually really difficult for me, because I was looking through my iTunes, I was like... Well, black metal counts as not rock or metal, doesn't it? That's that counts. Avant-garde jazz metal. Surely I can put that in there. It turns out, I really like metal and rock, so it's actually quite a difficult feat.
Did you find it difficult to pick it?
I found it really hard. I thought I was going in, and I was thinking this is going to be the easiest thing I'm ever going to have to do, and then I realised that I just don't really like a lot of other albums. If you get what I mean, not as a whole anyway. I like sort of different things here and there from different genres and different albums, but never a full thing, so it was really, really difficult.
It made me realise how closed-minded I am, really, and like literally all I listen to is rock or metal. Jack, how did you find it? It's like getting 10 out of 10 favourite non-rock or metal albums.
I found it really easy. Really easy. It's fine.
If you've never listened to us before, this is a rock and metal podcast. We usually post it on SoundCloud every Thursday on Noizze's Facebook page. So go there and like Noizze's Facebook page and share the podcast. This could be the first one you ever see. Well, it will be the first one you've ever seen us. Could be the first one you ever listened to as well. So this will be quite an experience for them, couldn't it, Sam?
Indeed.
Here's how it's going to work. We're going to talk about our non-favourite rock or metal albums. So it's no subgenres, no metalcore, no pop punk. I'm allowing 2 indie entries each, because indie I think is further away from rock than pop punk is. So and plus I really wanted to talk about these 2 indie albums that I've selected, so I felt like it was important to include those. We're going to start off with a quickfire round, just so we can set the scenes, get how it's going. So I'm going to start with it, and then we'll go from my round. Sure. So for my quickfire, Hold Your Colour by Pendulum. Sam?
Paul Simon, Graceland.
Oh, nice. I'm going to go with Marshall Mathers LP, Eminem.
Use that as your quickfire?
I don't need to say anything about it.
To be fair, it's like, so it's just one of them. What could you say really about it? Jack?
Charlie Simpson, Young Pilgrim.
Interesting.
Very, very well.
Solo album.
Absolute banger of an album, that is.
Amazing.
Incredible. I saw it
really
live.
Folky.
It
Unbelievable.
So good. Incredible.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I got to photograph him actually. So I think I saw him off the back of that album. I'm not
Amazing.
sure. So
considering he was
good.
like plastered as like first start, he was like I suppose the front man of Busted, and then he was in Fight Cell, which is like a metal band. Broke out and did something like really, really cool,
and does all of them really well.
Because
he's
a very
big fan
talented musician.
Very talented man.
he's really photogenic. I hate him for that.
I love his eyebrows.
Yeah,
like eyebrow envy thing.
I feel that's all he's going to ever be famous for.
100%.
His eyebrows. Do you remember? Did you ever see that interview with him on Bad Selector?
No.
They just literally ripped his eyebrows for like 4 minutes straight. Spoke about nothing else.
I need to see that.
I missed that show, to be fair. It was amazing.
Me too. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next for me. So this is a bit of a cop-out already for me, because it's like a greatest hit selection, this is.
Oh.
But, wait, you'll understand.
Dude, I had to do that
I
though.
steered away from greatest hits.
Yeah, same.
You'll understand that. It's because this artist was like around in like the late 70s, and they were I just remember my mum having this one CD that my mum and dad would play like a card game every Friday or Saturday night, and they'd always play this album. And so it's Bob Marley's greatest hits.
Nice.
It's called the album is called Legend. And the reason why I've had to put in the greatest hits is because, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know anything of Bob Marley's specific albums. I just remember my mum having this one CD and playing it every weekend. And well, I mean, if you're talking about like a culturally significant reggae album, or reggae artist in this case, where else would you go?
No further than Bob Marley. Yeah, it's a fair shout.
Anyone else? I feel like I've fallen on deaf ears apart from Sam.
Bob Marley was not really a thing that I got into until later, really. It was never something my dad showed me. He's never been heavy into reggae and stuff. But I'm with you on the importance, sort of.
I mean, Three Little Birds in itself, isn't it? Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing will be alright. It's probably like one of the most iconic yet simple lyrics used in like any kind of music like ever. Like, literally everyone knows that little chorus.
100% with you on the reggae selection.
I remember going into a shop actually, and they had a poster on the freezer section, and it said "No oven, no cry." for the microwave
That's
part.
amazing.
So there you go. There's an interesting Marley story that I have.
I've been to his actual. I've been to his house as well when we went to Jamaica. And
Oh,
my
wow.
dad are massive fans.
I thought you just went in and had a conversation,
he
had some
didn't
curry
involve-
goat and some rice. and
It's house burglary.
He didn't
Sort
involve
of
me
broke
around.
into his back garden.
It was me and 80 other people there.
Wow.
When we pay and
Big house.
Yeah, it was a big house. Yeah, it was a big house actually. It was a motherfucker of a house. It was huge. They showed us this rock that it could have just been a normal rock basically, but they told us that's where he used to sit and write songs. But there was a part of me that thought that could just be it, like a massive boulder that's too heavy for them to move, and they can't give any other reason for it being there. So they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, you sat on this to write music.
Probably was too high to move, so you had to sit on it. That's probably what it was.
But yeah, man, like that album, like No Woman No Cry, Stir It Up.
Jammy.
I mean, how jammy. Redemption Song. I mean, how many bangers are on this album? Like in terms of like reggae music, like
Incredible
I
artist.
can't really put into words. Actually, it's a genuinely iconic album. Sam,
I'm going to go with A$AP Rocky At Long Last. Seriously?
dude.
Yeah, man.
okay,
There's this
awesome.
side to him, Martin, that you don't know.
I
have
know.
to hear
I
about.
just didn't-
Is this
I
the
didn't-
one
often
that's
than
got
not.
Skrillex on?
No.
I didn't think that would come in. Sorry, that's written me off. I didn't think.
So what was this out, Sam?
I know you're into it, but like, I didn't think it would be in like your top 10 all-time favourites.
When was this out, Sam?
2015.
Awesome. So you came across this when you were at uni?
Yeah, like actually, yeah, 2014, 15, that sort of time. I'm really into it. I think it's the best rap album I've heard for about a decade, outside of sort of Eminem and sort of Snoop Dogg and that sort of early era and stuff. It's just brilliantly musical. Backing tracks are fantastic. He's an incredible rapper.
He is, yes.
Fantastic, and it's one of the most like sort of musically authentic rap albums I've ever heard, and connected with me in a way that few albums actually have from a hip hop or rap perspective. The ones that I enjoyed the most historically, ones where it genuinely sounds like there's some element of performance going on rather than sort of a rapper sort of doing his craft over a quite clearly backing track electronic sort of situation. Whereas the A$AP Rocky here in this album, there's an authentic, genuine feel to it that really sort of hooked me in. A song called Canal Street, which is just incredible, like beautiful bass line. It really fits in well with his social sort of commentary. And there's several songs on here that, fair enough, A$AP Rocky's obviously associated with various other things in terms of his output into the rap and pop world and things like that. But this album is really sort of an extension of how talented he is as an artist, and generally production wise it is fantastic. And honestly, it's a random choice, I know, but I really love the album.
He's got an incredible flow, hasn't he? A$AP Rocky?
Yeah, it really
He
is.
is really good.
Like really sort of unique and individualistic. And again, it's there's a song called Holy Ghost that opens this as like a genuine gospel choir in the background. It's just brilliant. Really, really, really like sort of progressive sort of rap music.
His album
Really
after this was Long Live A$AP, wasn't he? That's
Yeah.
the one with the Skrillex song on. Is that the one I'm thinking of?
Yeah, well, little.
Long live A$AP.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
I believe so. But yeah, like there's been like a good rapper, and then there's having a great flow as well. And
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
definitely got both.
It just
elements.
really sort of connected with me in a way that another rap album hasn't really since I was sort of 12 or 13, and I just really, really enjoy it. I can't get away from it. Genuinely, it's why it's up there for me.
Man, you've backed that up really well.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
thank you.
Martin.
2001, Dr. Dre.
Oh, you were mentioning this to me the other day.
And for me, it's probably the opposite than Sam. It's just like the album that got me into rap. And I think the most important thing you can take from it is, the Thug Life videos.
Yeah.
At least 3 of the songs that you see in a Thug Life video will be from this album. And the rest will be from his previous. That's how good it is. But aside from the joke...
That's your justification. Thug Life Facebook videos. Oh well, now it's in a meme. I feel much better.
No, aside from that, this has like the best tracks on there. Next episode, Forgot About Dre, The Watcher, Bitch, N-word. So it's like it's got every rapper from that era that you'll have on it, and then it's always like layers that you learn new about it. You never understand every single word as per se in the album until you learn about Dr. Dre's sort of personal life and how he'd been shot down for bringing Eminem to the limelight and things, and how all these things sort of culminate in this album. It's really weird. Like, I mean, a lot of people say that he didn't write his own lyrics, and I find that hard to believe with this album because it's really personal stuff. Like, I don't know, like saying like "fuck the beef" to Easy and saying like, "I really miss you" and things like that. And you don't get that sort of level as a child until you like re-listen, if you get what I mean. And it's just one of them albums where literally every song is like passable as like an A star for music in GCSE.
Once you started listing the songs, I actually realised then that it is like a really seminal album.
They're just like
once you started listing the songs, I was like, actually, yeah, that album's like.
And it's still, and it's one of those albums where it's almost well, it is a concept album. You've got the social commentary aspects of it, but it's also really personal. And I don't think you get that vibe from any other album, if you get what I mean. Like even the Chronic previously, where you've got like bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks, you know that song and all that.
Yeah.
It's just a social commentary, isn't it? It's just look at the
well, bitches aren't shit but hoes and tricks. You know what I mean?
It's literally just like, this is our lifestyle. We're rappers. We're big. Here are the gold chains. Do you get what I mean? This album was more personal, and it was almost jarring, but like at a point where it completely changed the game. And this coming from a guy who wasn't really a rapper, just the guy on the decks, you get what I mean? Yeah. And that really shines through as well. Production quality is through the roof. You know, some of the bass lines on there are ridiculous. I mean, granted, half of them are sampled and things, but they're from tracks
he has
you don't.
Talent for that, though, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he's very good.
It's ridiculous how much stuff he can sort of go back to and use. Do you get what I mean? Like things that you just don't ever listen to unless they're on like some kind of really rare Motown B-side. Do you get what I mean? And then even then, it's like a little snippet meshed with something else. It's like ridiculous. So yeah, it's fire.
Jack.
I'm gonna go there with Ed Sheeran's newest album, Divide.
Wow.
I did feel like he would feature
the new one,
the newest one, which is his best one. Yeah, it's his most diverse to date. It's where he brings in a lot of his folk influence. I don't know, like he's one of those artists that's just a pop artist that could have come out with an album that was like 12 tracks, like Shape of You.
Yeah,
he could have done something like that, and the world would have bought it in seconds. Yes. He's at that stage.
He's
Instead,
huge.
He's written music that means something. He's written music that is diverse, has tons of influences. He's travelled the world. If you listen to the bonus tracks, and it's got influences from Barcelona, Africa, loads of places that he did, like 'cause he did that year travelling. And yeah, he's put it out there, and people still love it. He had I think he had every single one of his tracks in the top 20.
I mean, that's
a week later.
Yeah, top 20, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's got to be a record, isn't it? Though
I think the top 9 were him. You know,
it's ridiculous.
It's insane. But at the same time, and it annoys me because pop's always been a thing where I've been like, I don't, if everyone else likes it, do I really want to like it?
Yeah.
But I love it. Ed Sheeran, I've loved Ed Sheeran since his last album, Multiply. And that's the nearest to rap I go as well. Yeah, it's not really rap.
So that's
literally his fast talking in songs is about as close as I get to liking rap music.
That's what's important to know. It's about this. Like, some people are going to take away that we're saying these are what we think are the greatest non-RockMetal albums of all time. That's not what we're saying. Obviously, if you're talking about greatest, we'd speak about Elvis and the Beatles and Frank Sinatra and stuff like that. This is literally our favourites. It's what
they hold sentiment. That's like. Sort of, in a way, that's the way it's going.
If we had to do like the 10 greatest like non-RockMetal albums of all time, like obviously we'd be remiss to not include stuff like Elvis and things like that because of the cultural significance.
But Kris is sweating now because you've associated with him Ed Sheeran. Now he has to explain himself.
this is
he's gone
just
now.
So you know, RockMetal guys, it's fine. It's not the greatest album ever. We don't even invite him. He's not
I
really
would
part
throw
of the
Ed
podcast.
Sheeran's Divide into the greatest anyway.
Oh, I get it. It's fine.
That level.
It don't matter, man. He put A$AP Rocky in there. So
that's true.
Next round.
I lost all credibility 15 seconds in.
Yeah.
How much of a jump do you see Divide from like Plus, his first? Did you listen to much of his first?
Yeah. Plus is really raw. It's like kind of got that real singer-songwriter acoustic raw feel about it. Whereas now he feels like he's top of his game. Awesome. This album was the best he's done yet by far, and who knows what the next one's going to be like. and it has to be called Subtraction, because if it's not
Yeah.
called Subtraction, my OCD is going to go through the roof.
I'm really worried
But he
about
could
what
be that guy.
Subtraction's gonna be
He
called.
could be that guy, couldn't he?
I
He'd
can't
be like,
wait
oh,
for
the next one's going to be self-titled, and you'd just be like, oh god,
I can't wait for
I couldn't
Pythagoras.
handle that.
It's going to be sick. That one's going to be off the chain.
Where do I go from here? Okay, looking at my list now. Right, okay, so for me, I'm going to go Michael Jackson's Off the Wall.
Ooh, excellent choice.
Nice.
Genuinely, probably the most like well-known pop star, like, you know, let's just say ever. He's swinging with Elvis up there.
Yeah, 100%.
And for me personally, again, this is where it comes into favourite and not greatest. Thriller is obviously probably his most cultural significant. I believe it is the greatest selling album of all time.
Yeah.
But for me, this is his best. If you put on Don't Stop, if we play Don't Stop right now, like we probably even get people downstairs that we just like at least tapping their feet. There's so much of the album that's like so like rhythmically persuasive to like everyone.
Yeah.
And then even when you break away from like the dance, let's call it dancey kind of songs, then you've got like Out My Life as well, which is like we could call it like a power ballad or whatever. It's just showing off that literally in 1979 Michael Jackson was the guy. Like, he was just ridiculous and he was completely untouchable. The song as well, Off the Wall, reminds me of one of my sisters as well. I remember she used to play it like literally every night before she went out, and this was like, I remember this was like 1998, that would have been, because I was still a kid and my sister was still living at home. So that just shows that the album was 20 years old by then, and my sister, who would have been like in the mid-20s, was still listening to it. And me today, I was listening to it last night and the album's like 30-40 years old, and I'm thinking, man, you know,
Still good.
in terms of like a pop album, has this been like beaten in terms of like a rhythmical sense? I don't think it has. You know, for me personally, I haven't come across anything where I could listen and think, you know, yeah, this challenges Michael Jackson's Off the Wall. This album, in terms of like a pop album which brings in elements of like dance, heartfelt music, pair of vocals from Michael Jackson, I don't think it's ever been beaten myself.
aren't his album
Truly
sales
is.
like double second place?
It's
You know, in the
scary.
top 10, it is up there like
It's
by quite a
terrifying.
distance, isn't it?
Yeah, he's
It's
I
justified.
am right,
He's
so
the
I'm
king of
Thriller's
pop.
the greatest selling album of all time.
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
I think so,
Like
yeah.
70 million.
It's definitely a
something.
Michael Jackson one. I know that.
Yeah, and then obviously when he died, everything else shot up even more. So
Yeah.
so if propelled his sales even further. You're right, man. And
The world misses Michael Jackson
Any Michael Jackson selection is entirely justified. And we're
I think
talking
he's
about the
still
greatest
alive.
artist of all time.
somewhere.
Somewhere.
All them videos of him attending his funeral, they were real. They weren't conspiracy theories. So.
I tried to go, and when I went to when I was travelling to LA, I tried to go to his ranch,
Oh,
see
really?
if I could spot him. You know,
Oh,
Didn't see him.
Him and Bubbles just still knocking about. Like,
didn't even see a roller coaster. It's like that
disappointing.
far back. All
Oh
I
my
saw was
God.
the fence and security. Still like shitloads of security.
I can imagine that.
Someone's
To
in
be
there,
fair.
man.
That's weird.
He's
isn't
still
it?
in there.
He's
Still getting paid to.
So I don't know if he's in there. Him and Tupac. Working it out.
Makes sense.
I think so. Working on a
That might
collaboration.
be the best album I'm never going to hear.
Yeah, can you imagine? That'd be amazing.
So we'll move on to you.
All right, mate. I'm gonna go. This is a tough one. I'm gonna go Mumford and Sons. Sign On More.
Now this, I'm
jealous.
absolutely amazed.
About a 12-song album, 9 could be hit singles, and this is a band that went from this album to now they're huge. Just
Massive.
off the back
I
of
saw
this.
them headline ready.
Their choral power, despite the fact that nothing goes behind them, is just astonishingly good. And it's one of those things where, same with a lot of these albums, they're in genres that I wouldn't typically associate myself with. But the quality of the songwriting, the storytelling, the musicianship here is so vibrant, and Marcus Mumford's voice is just so easy to get along with. You know, it's not sharp, it's reassuring, it's gentle almost. It's so easy to listen to. It's just a incredibly brilliant pop folk album, the likes of which I don't think I've heard and enjoyed with really since sort of Dylan. Potentially in that sort of blend is just terrific.
Well, I certainly haven't ever heard an album that had such crossover appeal in terms of picking the specific genre of folk and pop like I had with this.
They've took the storytelling of acoustic folk, which is that genuine sort of nostalgic authenticity, and that you like the idea of, but you don't like it because their choruses don't tend to be as good.
Yeah.
And they've added a pop element that makes it almost more listenable and more it grabs you in even further. And I think that blend just really hit me at the right time, and it was just terrific. I think it's 2010 came out.
Sixth Form, I believe. Right?
Yeah, man, just an incredible album. I remember thinking, I really like metal, but I also like Mumford & Sons, and it was like a weird dichotomy, but I just love it.
It
so
reminded
good.
me, actually, like, this is a cool thing, because
Oh,
me and
God.
you used to have all the little conversations, Sixth Form about music,
Yeah.
and I thought, man, I ain't telling him that I've got Mumford & Sons on my iPod, because he'll have a go at me.
I'd have probably said the same.
I was like, I ain't going to tell him I've got Mumford & Sons. I'll talk to him about Metallica again, we'll give well with that one. Martin, over to
Same
you.
topic.
I think I'm going to choose Howard Shore, Lord of the Rings. I'm going to go with Fellowship of the Ring soundtrack for the purposes of the fact that it was bringing my favourite novel to the big screen, and I think without that score, it just wouldn't have worked. And I think maybe I should be putting like Star Wars in there, like, because without that's the prime example of a movie that would just not work without the music, because it's like literally the same as everything else that was going on at the time.
In terms of like the most iconic score, Star Wars would probably have to be in there, but like Lord of the Rings is also.
Yeah, but it's one of those
things
things where it's like so sentimental to me that I have to put it in for that reason, and that's my justification for it, even if it wasn't good. It's the fact that my mum showed me The Hobbit when I was really young. I went on to read The Lord of the Rings, and then I remember distinctly this one day where we were at my granddad's, and my dad just sort of we were watching TV, and I was really young, and my dad said, "Oh, they're making The Lord of the Rings into a movie," and I was like, "Holy shit!" sort of thing. And then it came out like 2 years later. I remember being like ridiculously excited, and this score literally made this movie like.
Those films nailed it as well.
I remember I still remember the first time I watched it in the cinema. And there's that the battle scene right at the start where Elrond's at the front and they all lift their swords up at the same time.
Yeah.
I remember watching that in the cinema. I'm just like,
Yeah.
like I'm home like 20 minutes later, like chopping up hedges with an imaginary sword, pretending that I'm an elf king. Little did I know I was like 21 at the time, so it was a bit weird. But I'm totally with you. Like the music makes that as well.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like literally makes my spine tingle and my emotions just run like a river. Because I'm just like, if I'm walking into a situation or something, and all of a sudden in my head I hear,
Man, I got chills. Keep going.
I'm just like, fuck.
When it just comes up over the Shire at the start,
Oh man,
and Gandalf's humming. Man, is there
That scene
a
actually?
few more
I don't know
iconic moments?
I don't know
in
whether it's
cinema history for me.
that scene that you're talking about, but the scene where they start walking out of
Can we watch Lord of
Rivendell
the Rings
and
now?
they walk over the rock and it's like,
Yeah. I like it. You're like a weird trumpet version.
and it's like da 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 da.
yeah, it was
just like,
Bridge of
holy
Khazad-dûm
fuck.
in the first one, and I think the song is called Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
That goes fucking
Breaks me.
off.
Yeah.
It's like
But yeah,
that's a
that's my entire
off your seat
justification.
moment.
It's
Like,
like- Yeah, it
fucking yes.
It's one of those things where it's sort of, it's weird how it's got so many levels. It encapsulates the entire like world that it's in as well. Like,
Yeah.
you really feel, it's almost like you're walking on the grass when you listen to that album. You're in the Shire, or you're in Moria, or
You
anywhere.
read a lot more books than me.
Yeah.
Is Lord of the Rings the greatest film adaptation of a book of all time, in
It's
your opinion? Because I've never read the books, but the film.
they've cut a lot out, but it makes sense. It's the only book that I've ever seen like of that ilk where it makes sense to transition to film, whereas The Hobbit sort of doesn't.
Do the extended versions do it more justice?
Yes, but they still don't include iconic characters like Tom Bombadil or certain scenes like on the Downs and things like that. So it's a weird one. It's one of those things where it's like I feel like that sort of novel, it never ever translates to film as well as it does in the book. The same with like Harry Potter or anything like
The
that.
film's got like 3 hours.
But it's one of those films where, like Harry Potter, it can make it to a film and sort of work. And obviously, with the success of it, I think it's one of the most nominated films, The Return of the King, for
13
Oscars.
Academy Awards it won.
So it's like
13.
13, yeah.
it's ridiculous, isn't it? So it's one of those films that makes sense. The Hobbit, however, is one film that I would sort of argue should never have been filmed, but
That was
because I'm
overextended, wasn't
so
it?
into it, it still worked for me. But it's one of those things where I feel it's so hard to translate to film. I don't know how New Line Cinema and Warner Brothers were like, let's sign off on this project and make it 3 films, because it's just one of those things. Well, yeah,
money might have been the main motivating factor there.
We'll come back to money. You'll get that when I come back to another album. Okay. But yeah,
Jack?
I may as well put in my score, which is John Williams, Star Wars.
There we go.
Choice.
At least it's in there.
Yeah, I know it's the most iconic. We've got to be Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I know.
Right, okay.
I'd go New Hope,
No,
but
because there's that one song in it where like all the planes are coming down, all the fighter pilots are all like locking into attack position, and there's a song in it that just like gets me, and that one is amazing. I can't remember what it is because you just listen to a score, you listen to the whole thing.
Yeah.
The one with the Ewoks are dancing at the end.
Oh my god! And then it leads into the title, the Star Wars theme. When they're banging all the stormtrooper hats. Oh man, it is what it is. It's what you said earlier. It's one of those ones that.
Are you including like with the changes as well? The changes song. I can't remember what they changed the song to, but it's really bad. With all the CGI in Jabba's palace. Do you remember that song? You don't remember?
Oh yeah.
You're including that in there, or are you going to cut that out of that score?
No, is that in the score, or is that in the soundtrack?
Probably the
soundtrack. I'm not a soundtrack guy. I'm a score guy. For that reason.
So pretentious.
Oh my god.
I'm not really.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the most iconic scores of all time, potentially.
Arguably the greatest, isn't it? It's the most instantly recognisable, isn't it? The theme tune, the music is
gives me chills. It's Star Wars. It's Star Wars. I love Star Wars.
Many a time I've sat at uni in a car with you, just listening to Star Wars on the way to places.
It was. I will tell you, it was between that and Transformers, and there's a reason for that.
I knew you had a cheesy grin when I pointed it.
There's a reason for that. It's because of all the times where I'd leave university at like 2:00 in the morning to go back to Cardiff, and I'd need something to put on and get home. And I needed something epic, and it was always Star Wars or Transformers.
To be fair, the Transformers would pump you up.
The soundtrack is.
I was going to say, imagine the soundtrack's good. It's
really good.
Some of the movie choices are kind of bad, but
I'm so invested.
I still
so invested. Was never like a news story that Michael Bay wants to do another 14 or something?
I can't wait.
For him, he's going to send it to him directly in the post.
I'm so excited.
That's amazing.
This will be like 14 lines of dialogue across the entire film as well. There's robots punching each other like that for 14 films.
I don't care. I'm so excited.
Well, it's on the 14th one's coming around. It's going to be like Optimus Prime's 14th cousin.
Optimus Prime's go through a midlife crisis by the time it finishes.
I did love the first Transformers, to be fair. The second one I didn't. The third one made me physically ill.
I loved the third one the most.
Just from the acting. Oh, you don't know, do you?
I do.
Just from the acting. the acting of Jason Statham's girlfriend is so wooden.
I'm with you on this one. I thought number 3 was quite good.
Did you read?
I was too busy looking at the robots.
I like them all in. It's like I'm going to go back to that Sam thing. I like them all in a vacuum. Do you know what I mean?
They're cool.
God,
to
you
watch.
really like vacuums.
They're a cool spectacle. I'll never dispute that. But man, her acting is so.
Jack likes them because of the reasons everyone else hates them. We've discussed this at length. Yeah. Like, there's no plot, there's no action, there's no acting of any kind. It's robots punching each other for 2.5 hours. Jack loves it because there's no plot, no action, and robots are punching each other for 2.5 hours. He just has to sit there like a 9-year-old, enjoying it.
It's amazing.
First one was awesome, to be fair.
First one is very good.
It's the best. It's
almost as good as the third one.
In terms of the storyline, the first one was by far better than that. Oh god!
The third one had so many slow-mo fight scenes.
I know, yeah.
Is that the way to judge movies?
Genuinely,
I think Schindler's List would have been improved with slow-mo fight scenes. Oh,
that's amazing.
Can we put that in the Green Mile, please? Change cinema forever. I'm in tears.
Genuinely incredible. Right, I'm going to go into my first hip hop selection. I've gone My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. Personally, I think that's his best album.
Okay.
It came at a time where.
Does that have Jesus Walks on it?
No, I don't believe it does.
Are we talking about the same guy? Yeah, we are.
Although, off the top of my head, I couldn't pick you off the track list like track by track. But it came at a time where I think we were in sixth form again, weren't we? And like hip hop was becoming like it was always a big thing, but it seemed to like be really transitioning to the biggest thing because Eminem was just about to do Relapse.
Yeah, and Watch the Throne came out in 2011.
Watch the Throne came out in 2011. So like hip hop was like the biggest thing. And I started to like really get into it. And for me on this, I remember listening to it and I was nodding along, and then the start for Pepper kicked in, that like gospel choir in the background, and then Kanye's flow over the top of it, and I was like, man, this guy is ridiculous. And there's a lot of people that
I like that song.
much prefer like College Dropout and that kind of thing. In terms of
College is my favourite Kanye album.
He in terms of like his lyrical tense, but like for me, in terms of like just general like hip hop songs that sound big and don't just set on one theme, for me this was awesome. I mean, there's a song called Runaway on it with Pusha T. It's like 9 minutes and it's like emotional, and yet it goes into like really dark lyrical pretenses as well. And I remember actually, because I watched the Watch the Throne tour, I was there for Jay-Z and Kanye West.
How was that?
It was fucking delightful. It was fantastic for someone
That's an
like
interesting adjective to use for a rap gig. Delightful. Sounds like a tea party.
For someone like me who like, man, I'm not like a historian on hip hop at all, and it's far from my favourite genre. But like that was like I said with like the Star Wars thing.
Did it feel important?
Spectacle. Yeah. When I saw Jay-Z and Kanye West on the same stage together, and I was actually sitting for the gig because the guy who got the tickets, dad, accidentally got seating tickets.
Oh,
He did it by accident. I would have preferred to have stood, but it was fine. Seeing Jay-Z and Kanye West on the same stage and just seeing the reaction of people in terms of what we're actually witnessing here was something else, man. Just in terms of this album, they've got All of the Lights, which features like Rihanna, who's someone that I really don't care about. But even that song is just like really. It's hip hop album that transcends the genre, goes into so many different things. But for me, like, it's Kanye's best in terms of genuine songwriting.
Yeah.
In terms of lyrical power and stuff like that, his old stuff would probably, for most people, go ahead of this. But just in terms of like songwriting, and it's different and it goes into different elements. For me, this was his best, and he hasn't touched it since, in my opinion. There's a song on it called Blame Game as well, which is fucking fantastic. It's got John Legend on. And it's got Bon Iver on the album as well. There's so much.
Kanye West knows some people, doesn't he?
Does,
Get
man.
some folks on this
People
album,
wanna
doesn't he?
work with
John
Kanye,
Legend,
it's
Bon
Kanye.
Iver. Yeah.
There's so much to this album. It's a really great hip hop album. So
I'm going to go with Counting Crows, August and Everything After.
It's another banger.
Yeah, it is.
I'm really jealous of your list.
Thank you. So this is their debut album from '93. Those who are familiar with Counting Crows, sort of a rock. No, not rock band. They're sort of indie poppy, sort of acousticy, sort of a weird sort of blend together. And this album is just amazing. Honestly, amazing. So it's got just a touching, emotional, heartfelt depth to it that I have not heard on any other album. Really, the lead singer's vocals here are just sort of a beautiful combination of sort of like heartbreaking and delightful. There's a lead singer called Mr. Jones that starts off with an anecdote about sitting in a bar with a man trying to get the attention of a flamenco dancer, and it slips the narrative. You feel like you're there, and the way that the song transcends into this sort of story of like sort of hope and wanting to be better than yourself and all this sort of stuff is really sort of capturing and engaging. There's a song in it called Anna Begins. It's about sort of entering a relationship with someone that you used to be friends with, and knowing that if you get out of a relationship, that's that done for that sort of. And there's just some absolutely gorgeous lyrics about sort of every time she sneezes I believe it's love, and like being this sort of like trapped person inside all these emotions and things like that. And just the quality of the songwriting here is just so prominent. Round Here and Rain Man, it's just an incredibly heartwarming album in both its simplicity. And it's not talking like an album where I'm listening to and I'm like, oh my god, the musicianship here is incredible. It's not that sort of album. It's in that sort of early to mid 90s. People are either listening to what's left of Nirvana or sort of
Green Day
or something like sort of random bands, and it's that sort of coffee shop would be on the background of a Friends episode sort of sound. But it's his voice and his lyrical content that really set this apart. It's beautiful. I would recommend 3 or 4 songs of this album to literally anyone I have ever met. In terms of just take a listen to it, take a minute, hear his voice, listen to the songs, listen to the descriptions here. It's just of songwriting. It's just one of the best albums I've ever heard.
You've seen them live?
I have, with my old English teacher.
Yeah. Oh yes, I remember you telling me about
this. Which is one of the most
actually.
surreal experience of my life, to see a man that I was literally terrified of for about 6 years do this.
Do that again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Later. I'm not a monkey. But yeah, so it was really surreal in that sort of circumstance. But he's a fantastic singer, and this band are just brilliant. And there's just a few songs on here that really, for me, put the hair on the sort of hair on end, goosebumps. Like, just the lyrics here are just so emotive and so beautiful that it's just a genuinely gorgeous album. I would heartily recommend it to anyone. It's one of my all-time favourite albums. Might be Anna Begins, probably like my third favourite song.
You played it for about 2 years straight in university.
It's true. To everyone that would listen,
all of it.
I'm going for another hip hop album.
Cool.
And I'm thinking that it's probably the best hip hop album since Dr. Dre and Eminem, by far. And it's Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar.
Can't sound familiar.
It's ridiculous,
We've not
Chris,
seen him live.
and you definitely need to listen to it. So the whole album is a concept album about like his life as a young kid growing up in Compton or whatever, and obviously he's got these big names to look up to. I think he even said once that he sort of was at the scene of a Dr. Dre video before, like where they just sort of like had a crowd and he was there, sort of thing. So he's had these people to look up to, and no other album does justice to 2001 like this album. It's literally like he has took that influence and tried to replicate what Compton is all about, sort of thing. So the first, like, I've just looked here, and the first 9 tracks literally happen over a night. How do you write 9 songs about one night?
That is actually
Pretty impressive.
And it's
beyond
it's,
impressive.
it's ridiculous. So
Kind of
it
a
takes you from this, like, he's like a kid. It goes from Shireen, aka Master Splinter's daughter, which is the track of the first. It's the opener, and he wants to go and like have sex with this girl. He nicks the sort of family car, and his mom's ringing him up,
Sort of
blasting up
rom-com.
his phone, sort of thing. Yeah, it's like it literally takes you through, and then he goes and has sex with her, and then he comes back to his crew telling him how he's like had sex with this girl. And then they go to rob a house, basically, and it's like literally something that happened to him. So it's like ridiculously, like, it's just amazing. The lyrics are like ridiculous on this album, and I don't think he's ever been able to replicate it, because the album afterwards I thought was absolute trash. Where he's like going, "This dick ain't free." It's the thing. This dick ain't free. Yeah, he does this. So yes, honourable mentions on the album: "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe," which is a ridiculous song.
I know that song, yes.
That's sort of like hints at his like dad in the situation, because he's like high and wants pizza, basically, and he's just nicked the car.
that would kill your vibe.
The art of peer pressure is like ridiculous. Like, you really get the feels. Like, he's talking about how like he never gets high unless he's with his friends, unless he's with his crew. He never wants to do robberies or anything like that unless he's with his friends, and you get this real sense of how he has grown up in Compton and what his life has been like, and transitioning away from that and trying to sort of get out of this like Bloods versus Crips lifestyle, if you get what I mean. It's just ridiculous. It's on the same level as 2001. It's ridiculous.
Jack?
Ex-Ambassadors VHS. Any of you heard of them? They're kind of
Doesn't
like
sound familiar now.
they're kind of like Imagine Dragons. I've definitely shown you before.
I wasn't listening.
Feels like Imagine Dragons. I can't imagine you were too much into it, Sam.
Actually, the first time was alright.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a bit of a surprise for you. It's called VHS. It's kind of like, it's just the way the album is laid out. There's tracks you'll have heard on it. I can't even think now. There's Jungle, and there's one called Renegade, and you'll have heard them on like car adverts and all that sort of thing.
So
They're just
when
one
did
of
this
those
come out,
bands.
sorry?
This was
What period?
2015.
Right, okay.
I think. There's been loads of singles off it. They're just sort of one of those bands that have come up almost like in the same way as Imagine Dragons did with some of their big hits.
It's not as
and just found
mainstream.
them. No, not quite. I think they've even gone on tour with them. Like, but yeah, it's the way the album's set up. It's called VHS, and it's like there's loads of little tracks in between of like kind of little. They're just like little clips of like the band's past. So it almost goes as the album goes on. Obviously, they've got snippets, they've got songs in between, but then they've got these snippets of clips of them making the album, of them when they were young, and like, I don't know, just something like them moving house and things like that, or the band coming together. The way it's set out is really, really cool. It's like, I think it's like 20 tracks on it in the end, because obviously not all of them being tracks, some of them just being like little 15-second clips of them like just talking to a camera or talking, you know, just talking on the track. It's really different. Really, like,
did you first come across it?
I found Renegades on, which was a song on a car advert. I'm one of those guys that asks Siri about everything.
Right, okay.
And then bought the album because I'm that guy.
He's like, he support music like no one else, I've got to say. Like, no one else that I know anyway.
I asked Siri about it. They told me. I bought it on Amazon. It's really cool. Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, they're. I'm not sure how big they are, to be perfectly honest. And I'm pretty sure that was their debut.
Which struck a chord with you.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's just different to anything I've heard in terms of like the way it's laid out. It's really personal. It's really cool. Check it out.
Right, here we go. I'm going to use one of my indie choices now. So this is one of the choices. So I've probably got two choices that you could look at and say that they could be considered as the greatest, as well as also my favourites. And this one is the self-titled album by the Stone Roses. The start of this album, the first 90 seconds of I Want to Be Adored, I think you could play that to anyone. It doesn't matter what genre they're into, how old they are, and they would all get something from it. Just the first, when the drums fully kick in, it's amazing. And what this album did, this album almost like invented the genre. Like, if this album doesn't come out, Oasis don't exist. If Oasis don't exist, Arctic Monkeys don't exist. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like this album is like so important for like indie. And, like, you could look at the bands like, you know, the 1975, who I think are toss, but like they definitely wouldn't exist if it wasn't for this. Like, this album started like a snowball effect that eventually picked up into indie being, at one point, like, if you want to look back at like 2006 when Arctic Monkeys' debut come out, was it 2006?
Yeah.
Indie was the biggest fucking thing in England, man. It was huge. Everyone was into it, man. And Arctic Monkeys, that debut album, was something that got close to coming into my list. I did knock it out for something else there. And like, Arctic Monkeys are also a phenomenal indie band. But this, Waterfall, you got 10 Story Love Song, Elephant Stone, the drum fill on Elephant Stone. I don't know if you ever heard that song, but I will show you this drum fill on Elephant Stone, because like, Stone Roses aren't really a band that you'd look at and think, oh, you know, they're really musically like intelligent.
Their bassist is sick.
The bassist is sick. Manny, I believe his name is. But
so good.
The fucking drum fill on that is incredible. And I remember seeing them at V Festival. Yes, I went to V Festival specifically because Stone Roses were headlining, and like, Ian Brown come out wearing a fucking jacket with lemons on, and he had a stupid hat on, but like, there was like, I want to say the crowd was massive. Let's just say there was 30,000 people there, and they were just enamoured at like what I remember. And that same for me, as I was enamoured of what I was seeing, man. Like this band that like pretty much created the genre in like, I want to say the 80s, yeah, 1989, pretty much created the genre, and just like with the fucking biggest thing. And I got a guy at work told me that like the Stone Roses did a gig at the Civic, like, which is the Wolverhampton's local venue, and like some guy sold his car outside for a ticket because it was like a reunion. Like, they just randomly dropped out of nowhere. We're playing the Civic, and like, he sold his car for a ticket. And so he said he witnessed this happen. He saw him give the keys over for the ticket. I mean, this guy must have had a lot of money, but even so, like, you know, that was what Stone Roses did to British like music. We're talking about 1989 here, not when the reunion was at the Civic. I mean, but like when this album came out, it's about 1989. So yeah, things were changing when we're coming like to the end of the 80s, and at this point, metal's still the biggest thing, not worldwide, but in terms of like, you know, underground appeal and people like feeling like they're striking back again to the revolting. Metal was kind of like the biggest thing. Man, this album drops. It's the fucking incredible album, and this album is
historically significant. Yeah,
you listen to any indie band, you listen to any. This album is Black Sabbath's debut for indie music. You listen to any indie band, and and if you trace it all back, it comes back to this album. It's fucking incredible.
I feel like you should set up like a school for like the next Terminator movie, though. To stop the 1975, we must kill the Stone Roses. If we go back in time and get rid of that, so
and I'd do that. I'd take that sacrifice to the 1975.
Would you kill Stone Roses to now make no more Pigeon Detectives albums?
Yeah. Sam?
I'm gonna go Eminem, the Eminem Show.
interesting.
Nice.
Opens with White America, Without Me.
Without Me is an absolute ripper.
And this came out. I know it sounds like he's just like an Australian man describing a fish that he just caught. It's a fucking ripper. And no, this came out in 2001, and I was 7 or 8 years old. And Eminem was the biggest thing in my life. There wasn't Jam on Toast and Tekken, and it was just absolutely incredible. And there's just hit after hit after hit. Clean Out Closet on this album, but also in addition to like the zany elements, like so. I appreciate Martin putting Marshall Mathers LP on there, and I think that's when you get Eminem at its rawest, you know. Like,
well, I prefer the show, but
like you condensed it down. The show,
but I do prefer that album.
I like
but,
the show,
but it like Marshall Mathers was like the first thing I heard on top of 2001. So it's like got that sentimental.
What a year for rap music as well, by the way, 2001. But I think it's just compiles Eminem's pop music mind and his ability to be able to hook what he's able to do into a chorus, which is unlike I've ever heard from a rapper of his significance. Also his social commentary and his anger, he's still so prevalent here, but he's refined it in a way where it doesn't, like, you hear some of the skits on the Marshmallows LP, and sometimes I'll fast forward through a few of them. I don't think you get a second rest here, and there's Till I Collapse on this. And I could have a fight with anybody on the planet. I'd lose, but I'd probably give it a go if I heard that song beforehand. It's just an incredible, incredible album of just such variety that compiles his lyrical genius, of which we've probably heard no likes of ever.
Remember
again.
that
I agree.
NFL video we saw?
Yeah,
Till I Collapse
greatest
on
hits. They're just getting tackled to Till I Collapse.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I fell back in love with that album after that for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it is just sensational. The peak of his powers for me. That's where I most enjoyed Eminem. And for a rapper, and for an artist that is so associated with myself growing up, I think of Eminem. I don't think of the new Eminem. I think of the blonde-haired, stud in the earring,
Same. I absolutely don't think of
white
Eminem.
t-shirt, the Jason mask on, and the songs with Elton John, all that sort of stuff. I remember that period the most, and that album sticks out to me when he was the biggest thing. And it's just, albums take you back in time. And I'm 7 years old every time I listen to that album, and I think that's awesome.
Martin,
I'm going with favourite worst nightmare, Arctic Monkeys, because I personally feel like they are the quintessential indie band, and then also I feel like this is where they're at their best.
great album.
Opens with Brian Storm. Brian.
The drums on that.
That was so good. That was amazing.
Top marks for now. Trying. Nah, it's great, man. Teddy Picker. It's that social commentary aspect where I think what moulded Arctic Monkeys for me was this aspect of like, you've got all that Dr. Dre stuff and it's sort of half away from what you experience in your life, but this is like every single English kid's
we all
growing up.
this,
Like,
yes.
like, do you know what I mean? Like, even when it's like red light indicates doors like secure, you're in. Every time I'm in a taxi now, I hear that song. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where everything that you remember from childhood, growing up, and everything just works, even though it's sort of, based in Sheffield or wherever they're from. It's hard to say anything other than that, isn't it? Really, D is for Dangerous, probably my favourite song, ever.
Fluorescent Adolescence on the album.
Yeah, Fluorescent Adolescence on there. It's just filled with great songs, isn't it? And then you've got stuff like 505, the sort of the slow things where you sort of feeling that they're taking away from the poppy element and becoming more Berry-esque in that sense, because there's a lot more musicianship going on in this album that I felt. I mean, not that it takes away from the previous, because the previous is on that level as well, but I just felt like this one was where I was like happiest with their demeanour and everything like that. It's the one album, it's the one band that I can listen to and think, I experienced that. I was there with you, but it was my friends and you weren't there, Alex Turner. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just strange. But we're related, That's a joke.
Yeah, we do.
I thought you were looking at me really serious. I was just like,
The album's amazing.
This is for me the best indie album ever.
Jack?
The Cause, Forgiven Not Forgotten. It's their debut from the 90s, I think. Obviously, do you know any of you know the cause?
Yeah.
That Irish group, like the Three Sisters, that were really hot.
Oh, what's that
And the
really
one
huge,
dude, I don't
massive
know if it
song
was
that they did?
Runaway or Breathless.
Right.
Breathless.
They bought out beer as well, didn't they?
I feel like
Ha ha ha.
if you played with them, I'd be like, oh, these guys.
It was that album was the album that my parents were playing when I grew up, and it's always the same. And you know, when whatever album your parents are playing, there's always that one that sticks with you. It's actually the one I ended up writing about for
Yeah.
this project. But
Really good piece.
Incredible. It's just one of those albums that takes you right back to where you were then. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, like one of
But
those
it's got all the hits on it, like so many hits that they now have in their greatest hits collection.
Yeah.
Are on that first album.
Was it like one of those that was inescapable for you when you were young, and that's why?
Yeah. You know, like you get in the car and then it's playing.
Yeah.
You know, you get home and they've got it on the CD player. Like, you know, it's one of those ones that was just playing all the time, whether you were eating dinner or going out, or you know, it was just one of those things that they obviously loved it, so I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah,
But I love it now
it's
anyway.
back again.
Yeah.
We're going to do
Amazing.
2 quick fires.
Sure.
Right. Okay. So I'll start. I'll go Watch the Throne, Jay-Z and Kanye West. Sam.
I'm going to go Rodrigo y Gabriela, their debut album.
I'm going Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, the Beatles.
Jack.
None of you will have heard of it. Nako and Medicine for the People, Hoka.
I'm glad that's a quick fire because I literally have no idea what that is.
I wish I would explain more, but it's fine. Great band, check them out.
My next one, Charlie Simpson's Young Pilgrim. Album
Yeah.
is ridiculous. I love it so much. So
Foxy's Glorious, pop album.
I'm going to cheat a bit here. I'm going for ABBA, Gold, their greatest
what's
hits.
that shit? Okay, now I did that with Bob Marley, so that's cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
ABBA are fucking incredible.
It's sentimental value. It was my granddad's favourite band for some really weird reason, and
My
he
mum
was
loved ABBA.
glorious
so.
and Welsh, as you are. And he just.
If I knew we
that
were
was it.
allowed greatest hits, I would have gone Backstreet Boys. I'm just putting that out there.
I'm glad I didn't tell you were their greatest hits.
Instead,
same.
I Woodkid, The Golden Age. Amazing album.
Sweet.
There we go.
Right, so for me, they don't be dicks to me. They'll be like,
Whatever you've got
I mean,
is
that's
not going to be
personally
as bad as this one I've been saving for the end.
Born to Do It by Craig David.
Or it might be, who knows.
You want to
I
repeat
did not
that?
expect that.
Lads.
I didn't hear that. You didn't say that out
Lads,
loud.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what anyone says.
Craig David.
I don't give a shit what anyone says.
Craig
This
David.
R&B album is genuine fire.
Do you know what's weird about Craig David? He can
Actual
release
flames.
the same song every single album, like, and you just
Well,
like,
obviously,
yes,
when Born
Craig.
to Do It, I think Born to
You
Do
just
It
thought, aren't you?
Born to Do It was his debut, so no one knew he was going to do that for the next 15 years. But like,
It
this,
works,
We
man.
told him, didn't he? He was born to do it.
I'm sorry, right? But if you played 7 days to a nightclub, I think I'd knock everyone out. I'd be that excited. Like, honestly,
7 days is ridiculous.
It's an
Isn't it?
absolute bang. Then you're forgetting about Fill Me In.
Oh, we have forgotten
Fill
about
Me In,
that.
an
Took a
absolute
for a drink on
Opus.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
That is a
Opus.
banger.
Opus. Rendezvous. Where to my place say to, mate, incredible, unbelievable, mate. When, like, so I think I was like, like 6 when this album came out. My sisters were all over this album, man. They absolutely adored it. I remember it like it was yesterday. Like the front cover's got like Craig David, like with his eyes closed, with earphones on, with his.
I remember that, yeah.
And the best thing about it is the fact that Bo Selector absolutely ruined his career. Like 100%. If it wasn't for the fact that house music is a massive thing now, Craig David would probably be working in Subway or something like that. Because, mate, Bo Selector destroyed his career.
Yeah.
You must everyone
I
see Bo
remember,
Selector, Craig
yes.
David, which is hilarious. But like this album, man, there's so much good like just rhythm and blues on this album. I love this.
Fair enough.
It's a real guilty pleasure for me. It's not
Is it
an
a
album.
Hey, it's a really good album.
Walking Away. Go on.
Walking Away is
Yeah,
okay.
Walking Away.
That's a
I think.
tune.
It's not an album
I'm
that
sure
I'd
it's in
say
there.
is like something that could be looked at like historically and say, oh, thank God for that album at all.
Yeah, it's Save Garage.
It's something like Daniel Bedingfield. It's something. It's something that just hits with me because I spent so much of my youth, like my real youth, when there was literally nothing, no problems in life, listening to it. Born to It, Craig David, banger of an R&B album. I still love it today. I was listening to it last night. Reminded me that like.
How many albums did you listen to last night?
Well, I was up till about 1:30, like going through this and making sure that I'm doing the right things here. And Sam probably doesn't think I've done the right thing putting Craig David in, but I do. And I'm the house, so I can do what the fuck I want.
That's absolutely fine.
Right. Sam?
I'm gonna put in Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. It's his third album, and Bruce Springsteen is like, same to you, like the artist of my youth, but also like the rest of my life, really. My dad is the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan I've ever met in my life ever. He's seen him sort of like 33 times now, between 1985 and now. And when I was born, he rushed back to make sure that this album was the first thing I ever heard. So he put me in front of these massive speakers that he got. Probably one of the reasons why I'm a little bit like, it's like fucking tetanus from like age like 0. But so he played that album. The first song's Thunder Road, and you mentioned earlier Kendrick Lamar wrote an album about one night, and this album is like that. So it starts off about sort of like a tale of optimism and hope about escaping, and then just sort of filters in through this sort of like movie score-esque style songwriting and stuff. And this is just the soundtrack to my life, really, this album.
It's an astonishing album. I feel like it's important for you to mention that your dad sort of is that into Bruce Springsteen that he will see him in Manchester and immediately fly to Italy to see him on the next date because he's like ridiculously into him.
That's a real thing that happened.
That happened? He saw Manchester and then went to Italy the next day?
I went there with him as well.
So it's like one of those. It's one of those deals where he will literally follow him.
I think my dad should get frequent flyer miles. I think my dad should be allowed to meet him at this point now, to be honest. But yeah, it's the soundtrack of like my existence, my childhood, and this is just, it's a brilliant album though. It's like genuinely astonishing in terms of the songwriting, depth and musicality here. It's so spartanly recorded, and yet at the same time it's got sort of pianos and xylophones and a saxophone solo that's like 2.5 minutes long through Jungleland, which is one of the most progressive songs I've ever heard in my life. I can't actually pin this to a genre. So it sounds like rock at times, it sounds like opera at times, it sounds like pop music at times. It blends all this sort of stuff together over the tale of one sort of New Jersey evening, and you're just swept up in the magic of it, really. From sort of the lyrics about finding a guitar that he learned how to make, talking, like taking a girl away in a burned out Chevrolet, and all these sort of classic American cliches that we now have grown accustomed to. He embodied those in his music, really, and wrote this album of sort of hope and optimism that has just really just sort of embedded through my life. I can't imagine my existence without it, because it's just so constantly running through. So as a result, it's like I have all this metal love over here, but there's just this one guy who just sort of patterns my like existence to the music, because literally I've heard nothing else throughout my entire life, the same way that Jack did with the Cause when he was growing up. This is the connection to everything for me. So like, this is just the most important album probably in my entire life. It's a brilliant album though as well. I would recommend this to anybody.
Martin?
I think I'm going to go with a similar reason, really. The most important album in my life was probably Thriller by Michael Jackson.
Amazing.
And,
not a bad choice, is it?
Amazing.
I mean, it's not even my favourite album of his. I think I'd lean closer towards Bad. But the main reason this is like the biggest album to me is just how much my dad used to play it when I was younger on the record player and that. And it started out like as a bit of a hatred for it, really, which is weird. But it used to make me cry when he used to play Thriller. So him and my brother would sort of use it as a way to get me out of the room. Like, if you get what I mean, they'd play either Jaws theme, which used to shit me up, or the Thriller, because I used to just go off crying. But I mean, Wanna Be Starting Something is probably one of my favourite songs. Like,
awesome.
it's either that or The Way You Make Me Feel. And this album really changed my entire perspective on music. It made me appreciate why my dad used to just sit there with records all the time, like flobbing over like hundreds and hundreds of LPs of Motown hits and albums and things. And it really got me into that sort of music and made me appreciate what he was into and things like that. And also at the same time got me into the best pop artist that will ever live. So it's just one of those albums that sort of lives with me, I think. Beat It, Billie Jean. Do I need to say more?
You dance. There's literally nothing more you can say other than that.
Are they not probably the greatest pop songs ever made?
We were at Parkway Drive gig and Beat It came on, and the whole crowd sang along every word.
It's one of those situations, isn't it? I mean, we were there for Green Day as well, and a similar situation happened with Queen, where 30,000 people were singing Bohemian Rhapsody. And it's one of those things where it transcends the gig you're about to see, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, it does.
But it's one of those things. It's so, I don't know. There's like almost a transcendence in it, where you're all a part of one community with Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
It's never about anything else.
It's one of the artists that connects everyone together, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Also, man, actually that's on Bad, isn't it? I think. Yeah.
Jack?
But yeah,
I feel like I should have gone with something more iconic for my last one, but
We'll get one more each.
do we?
Yeah.
Busted.
Oh, dude.
A present for everyone.
Dude.
mate, that's iconic as hell. That's my childhood right there.
That is the reason,
That's
isn't it?
me in year 6, that is. That's all I did. Listen
First
to a present for everyone.
song is Air Hostess. Like, it's
A ripper.
You like the way she dresses?
unbelievable, man.
Unbelievable.
That album's like my gateway into rock.
God, mine was AC/DC. We're very different people.
I feel like yours is more musically challenging.
They led me to
Jack's.
Yumi at 6, an all-time low, mate. It was a
You got in
was
the
a
back alley.
rocky road to get there.
I'm lucky you made it.
I know.
It's so hard to not put like Back in Black in on this thing, isn't it?
For real.
Anyway, Busted.
There's 7 albums that I had to say, but yeah, mate, incredible album.
Huge childhood
3
album.
a.m.
Oh,
Oh, nice.
this album as well was like slightly more guitar
Yeah.
based.
Look at Sam.
I'm looking at him so I'm so nervous.
It was Sam.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
There was more guitar sound. Please. Yeah, 3M.
That's
Fake.
great.
There
Meet
was,
You There?
Meet You There.
Oh, mate,
Which
Meet
one?
You There.
Oh, Meet You. I love Meet You there.
I'll meet you there.
I feel like we're in a new friendship group now. I
Oh.
feel like you've just changed the dynamic of my entire
But I don't know.
life for the last
I don't
15
know.
seconds.
It's always hard for me with
I'm
Busted
actually
because
sweating. I'm so nervous to tell you this.
with me and Busted, I find. I mean, do you find this that like both albums sort of mesh together? Do you get what I
Somewhat,
mean?
yes.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, on a level, like I cannot listen to like Air Hostess or 3 a.m. without having a bit of what I go to school for.
Yeah,
do you know
of
what I mean?
course.
Yeah, man.
Or do you know what I mean?
I
Or
actually saw them
Who's
on
David?
their last tour,
Oh, really?
Who's
As in
David?
the last tour was in like 2015 or
As in-
2016.
2017.
Oh no, you were there. It was this year, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And how was that?
Really good.
Yeah.
Like, really, really good.
I mean, Charlie Sims is there for a payday, innit? But you know,
He is.
fair play to him.
And I love him for it.
Yeah, he was getting 100
Did he
grand
earn
a
that
night.
payday?
Huh?
It's better than Quick Quid,
Did
isn't
he
it?
earn it?
I've heard
He's the
they're
talent.
extortionate.
This is the thing that
And
rules
the
it.
other two have taken more of a bit of a step back.
Yeah.
They do more of the harmonies and just like
They don't
both
sing any
of them have
songs
figured
around.
out some like
Who
weird
drums for them.
instrument.
Never had never.
They always
Just
have like a.
random guy.
They always have a
Yeah,
guide,
section.
don't they? Yeah.
Sweet. Imagine getting that.
You
gig.
can if you want.
Probably.
Ask him.
I will. Next time I see him. Great.
It'd be really cool.
I think so.
But that Matt present
Incredible.
for everyone. It's
But yeah,
a
they
great
played some of the
album.
old ones, and
Like,
obviously
you know.
like Year 3000 went off.
But it did.
Oh man.
Was that really slow song they did on the first album that was huge?
They did a ballad. Really?
Yeah, I forgot the name of it.
I must have blacked out that entire year.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you did.
Lights
actually.
on.
Yeah, Sleep with the
Oh,
Lights
Sleep
on.
with the
that's
Lights
it.
on.
Man, huge.
Yeah, amazing.
The guy that records this is behind me. I can feel his eyes like burning a hole into me.
the first
But,
time
like,
he's
you know,
met me
let's
as
be-
well.
Let's be honest. I was I was 10 when this album came out.
2003
You know.
wasn't
In all
Yeah.
fairness, like if you listen back to it, the production value on it's like incredible.
Incredible, man. It's fucking absolutely ripping.
It's really quite good.
I'm so glad.
I
was like, oh.
when I was 10, I loved this album.
No,
Obviously-
I'm with you on that choice, man. That wasn't going to be in my honourable mentions. I don't know whether we're doing that, but yeah,
if I say my honourable mention, Sam will get the pen on his right and stab it into my neck.
he'll probably do that to me as well, but I
Yeah.
don't care.
That's right, Sam. I haven't got any honourable mentions.
Oh, good.
So for my last one, I will go with, for me, the greatest indie album like ever made, the master of puppets of indie music. It's What I Saw in Morning Glory by Oasis. If the Stone Roses started the genre in 1989, in 1985 Oasis came along and was like, this is how you fucking perfect it, because this album, there's a 7-minute song on this album called Champagne Supernova, which is like as heartfelt and emotional a song, and as big as a song as you could want to listen to. And then there's a song like the title track, which is, I mean, that
I love the title track, it's my favourite Oasis song.
that opening lead guitar
Yeah.
on that, I can't listen to it without just feeling fucking pumped to fuck, man. And my brother, who has seen Oasis, he's told me that like he's been to gigs, and then he's been to gigs see Oasis when they play Morning Glory, and he's like, there's nothing like when that first lead guitar kicks in and Liam comes on and says all your dreams are made, and like everyone just fucking loses their mind. And what Oasis did here was basically make themselves the biggest thing in Britain, because I was only 2 when this came out, but I've spoken to my brother and my dad. My dad doesn't like Oasis, but he's told me that like in like 95, 96, you couldn't go fucking anywhere without Oasis being like the poster boys for like what there was hoping would be the next decade.
Do you ever hear that?
Music.
Do you ever hear that story when they headline Nebworth? They soundcheck "Don't Look Back in Anger," and Liam and Noel both didn't play the chorus.
Yeah,
they were like, "Why aren't you playing the chorus?" Like, we don't have to. And they play it live because the whole crowd,
the whole crowd. I mean, and that's a great thing. Listen to like how seminal this album is. Wonderwall and Don't Look Back in Anger are both on this album. Both of them. Wonderwall is probably, it's a song that everyone takes a piss out of, like the acoustic guitar dickhead turns up to the open mic night and plays Wonderwall. And
it sort of is the.
Well, it's the bit. Is it the
it's the white trash drunk quintessential
it's the smoke on the water of acoustic wankers. It's seminal.
It's like the most successful indie song ever, probably Wonderwall. Everyone knows it. Don't Look Back in Anger again. Everyone knows it. Everyone
absolutely
loves it.
Massive tunes. Absolutely
they
massive
are fucking
songs.
huge. The only reason why people hate them now is because they've been played to death by people who picked up a guitar and figured out, I can strum some notes for the last 25 years. But other than that, mate, you're looking at an album.
Everyone in this room can probably play Wonderwall. It's that, but the thing is, the fact that you even want
I'm
to.
I'm pretty sure I can play Wonderwall.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Do you even want to? You even get the inclination to learn it and urge it. It become one of those absolute. You can't avoid this song. Everyone knows it. It's just the overall appeal of Oasis is just
this
outrageous.
Album, and there's a song like Cast No Shadow, and oh my goodness, that's all I can say about that song. The album is genuinely incredible. It's the great. It is the master of puppets of indie music. With that, obviously, Master of Puppets. Widely regarded as the greatest metal album of all time. In my opinion, the greatest metal album of all time. For me, this is not only is not my favourite indie album of all time. For me, it's the greatest. It peaked in '95. It's never got near this.
It didn't.
Even with Arctic Monkeys, I just don't think they've achieved anything near this.
They achieved way better.
So that's for me. That's my favourite ever non-rock or metal album. Sam.
Well, I already did mine with Bruce Springsteen's Boards, was my favourite, but if I have to put another one in there that I'd like to talk about, I feel like we touched on it a little bit earlier, and we've already had a mention of it before, but I am going to put in the Arctic Monkeys debut album as well.
Sweet.
Everything that people say I am, that's what I'm not. This album's just terrific.
It is, yeah.
And just the opening notes, it's just worth mentioning as well that not just did it have an impact on sort of indie music, it sort of laid the foundation for the modern stuff to come. It was actually, I think it was the first album to have a hit single that got number one without actually being signed by the band was signed at the time. They got there through MySpace and things like that. They're one of the first sort of underground sort of explosions, and they were really responsible for that sort of thing. But again, so as Martin sort of touched on, the storytelling here, the classic British at the park. I loved From the Ritz to the Rubble. One night these two bouncers, like the whole bouncer story, trying to get in, changing your jacket.
Yeah.
And he's up for a fight just to have something to talk about. We've all been there.
Yeah.
We've all been that front of the queue saying, all right, I'll let my mates in.
It's that thing again, isn't it? You've experienced everything they talk about.
Talking at, like, saying things that made sense that don't make sense anymore when you're talking like you've been at a park with your mates and the police come over and they're asking about trouble and all that sort of stuff. You've all been in that sort of classic British sort of circumstance, but the fact as well, the music bangs.
Yes.
Like, it's not just the fact that there's some wit and some humour and some sarcasm here that no other band can really replicate, but at the same time there's some real it's not just indie, it's some genuine dirt and grit here, from those scratches at the start of If You Look Good on the Dance Floor, which you couldn't go anywhere in 2006 without hearing that song for at least until the November of 2007, to be honest. It was just absolutely humongous. And When the Sun Goes Down, there's just
Mardy Bum.
Mardy Bum's a great
Yeah,
tune. And one of my favourites is Dancing Shoes, when you're on about putting on your best clothes on, going to pull a girl and then being too nervous to go over and talk to her, and you go over and say to your future bride and all this sort of stuff. It's really sort of witty and funny, and I remember listening to this album endlessly for a few months, just stealing it off my dad all the time just to try and play along and all that sort of thing. It's just fantastic, and one of those that sort of like it made such an impact on me despite the fact that it wasn't of a genre that I really love, and that's something to be said for that. I think it's just a great album, and I think even if you look at genres across, you could make an argument it's one of the most impactful debut albums in a variety of genres, really, in any genre. So I think it's really just a really terrific album. Big fan.
Awesome. Can't literally agree with every single thing you just said. Martin?
I'm going with Bad. I have to,
Mate.
Because this
To be fair, mate,
is my favourite
disagree.
Michael Jackson album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The Way You Make Me Feel is probably my favourite song.
Me and you were talking about this song the other day when we were walking
And by the
through
way,
town.
snares have never sounded that good ever again. They're ridiculous. So it's just like I don't know. Everything about this album was the quintessential version of Michael Jackson for me. Whereas when you've got Thriller, it's sort of like, for me, not every track is like ridiculous. Whereas like Speed Demon is on another level. Liberian Girl is really, really good as well.
Awesome.
Do you know what I mean? It's like every single track is ridiculous in its own right. And Man in the Mirror.
Oh,
Aren't we all looking at Man in the Mirror?
I mean, what else do you want on an album?
great album.
It's just one of those things that I can't...
Pop magic, isn't it? It's
shut
just
up.
beautiful.
And I'd like to say that my dad is that into Motown and Michael Jackson as a whole, that we have 2 original records with the sheets that have the lyrics on of each one. I have one for both Bad and Thriller. That's how serious we are. There's 2 of them.
Wow.
I don't know if they're worth any money. Probably not. But there you go. They're originals.
Again, I can't possibly disagree with your choice.
Well, you're not going to.
He is. Michael Jackson was the fucking guy, man. He was so.
It's one of. There's not many celebrities I've cried over when they died, and Michael Jackson was one.
He's still alive, man. He's
No,
there.
he's
It's
not.
alright, Jack's been to Neverland. You seen? What else could the security be going?
Why else? What would they be guarding otherwise? Like, obviously,
The perimeter.
The fact it's about a $200 million mansion is not factoring in here. The guardian Michael Jackson who decided,
And the perimeter.
and then the perimeter. Jack.
it's going to be another one you don't know, but for me, it's a huge one. It's Nick Santino, an artist that used to be in A Rocket to the Moon. I don't know if any of you remember that emo band that used to be about.
That does ring a bell.
Oh, it would. They were big back in the day with all like the Main and bands like We the Kings.
We the Kings.
Remember
man, that
We
takes me
the
back.
Kings?
You know We the
Kind
Kings,
of that
aren't you?
follow on
Yeah,
from
yeah.
like Simple Plan and all that sort of thing.
I'm sure Sam loves this era of music.
He moved away.
I remember
The band broke up, and he moved away and did a solo album called Big Skies, which is it's just one of the most iconic albums for me. Growing up, obviously, the last 5 years for me, I've managed to leave uni, get married, go on road trips, do huge things, and like every year he's released some kind of album or material. But this album came out the year before the year I got engaged. It was, so it was just huge, man. You know, it's that one album that reminds me of my wife.
But true sentimental value.
Oh, that's nice.
It's
really sweet.
he doesn't do solo stuff anymore, which makes me really sad. It's the dude that I invited. I actually got in touch with him and said, "Can you play at my wedding?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. And he replied. It was like,
Did he say yeah?
No, he couldn't.
You're
No.
about to say no, will you?
No, but he said it
least
was
he
nice
replied.
anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool,
Well,
man.
do you have any honourable mentions?
Loads. I've got
you can say-
just stick to 2.
You can say
okay
something
then,
for me. I
but
have
no.
none.
I've got everything that was ever been released under the Motown label. So you've got Stevie Wonder, Marvin Gaye, everything like that.
Okay,
These
yeah.
are all things that are
Yeah.
ridiculous to me. I've got Schubert piano sonatas because they like got me into classical, and then I've got Justified and Purpose, Justin Timberlake and Justin Bieber.
Right, okay.
I'll stop there. There's quite a lot.
My honourable mentions, I think Ed Sheeran's Plus and Katy Perry's Teenage Dream. Man, if you want a pop album in the last 10 years, like, you know, Katy Perry slayed that shit. It's like one of the only pop albums I can actually listen to.
Katy Perry slayed that shit.
She did. It's like one of the only pop albums I can listen to within the last 10 years. They're thinking, fucking hell, this is shit.
Amazing.
It's actually a good pop album.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got the Pogues from Suddenly Lash, and
Nice.
yeah, Johnny Cash live at Folsom Prison,
Hot damn.
and my guilty pleasure, because if we're all going to embarrass myself, is Usher Confessions.
This motherfucker had to get me for Craig David.
ASAP Rocky over here. He's putting Usher in.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was our special on our favourite non-rock or metal albums. I want to thank Kris for recording it. We were here at Noizze Recording Studio, so if you want to get in, you need any rehearsal space, any band time, any kind of recording, get at me and I'll sort you out with Kris and you can get you some time in here. If you want to be on the show for SoundCheck, just email me at the link I'll leave in the SoundCloud description. Also, we post this podcast every single Thursday on Noizze's Facebook page, so be sure to go there, like the page, share the podcast. It means a lot to us. I want to thank you for listening. Check out noizze.co.uk for all the latest reviews, news, live reviews and everything on the bands that you love and new bands that you don't know about. I want to thank you again for listening. It means a lot to us. We love you. We'll see you soon.